Hello, folks. I am Alan for today's news. I will be reading and speaking about world news, interesting news, news to keep you entertained, and news to keep you informed. What I got for you right now is from National Review. Biden administration considers banning gas stoves over health concerns. Federal agency may look to ban gas stoves over concerns about the release of pollutants that can cause health and respiratory problems, according to a new report. Says here the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission is set to open public comment on the dangers of gas stoves sometime this winter. The commission could set standards on emissions from the gas stoves, or even look to ban the manufacture or import of the appliances. So, first the gasoline engine they're going to try to ban, and then the gas stoves. And then they're going to probably start on the furnace next. They're going to say, the furnace is giving out dangerous pollutants up in the air through your flue. When is it going to stop? Tell you, Biden is not all there. Let me see what we got here. This is from Alternate. First bill under Speaker McCarthy will cost taxpayers more than $100 billion. Kevin McCarthy promised on his first day as Speaker of the House that members would read every single word of the Constitution aloud from the floor of the House. He also promised to fight for a stronger, financial, reasonable, and free America. Neither of those have happened yet. Instead, during his acceptance speech, when he was elected Speaker of the 15th, on the 15th try, McCarthy promised our very first bill will repeal the funding for 87,000 new IRS agents. There is no funding for 87,000 IRS agents, as the New York Times and others have fact-checked. There is funding to replace retiring IRS agent, upgrade the agency technology, and cut wait time in half by hiring more agents to answer consumer phone calls. And also says down here that, in fact, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen last August in writing ordered the IRS to not use any of the new funding allocated to the agency to increase investigations of any American making $400,000 or less. And you can read the rest of that in my description box there. Here's one from USA Today. People who haven't had COVID will likely catch XBB.1.5, and many will get infected, experts say. The newest COVID-19 variant is so contagious that even people who've avoided it so far are getting infected, and the roughly 80% of Americans who've already been infected are likely to catch it again. So you get the shot and you can catch it again. Essentially, everyone in the country is at risk for infections now, even if they're super careful, up to date on vaccines, or have caught it before. It's crazy infectious, said Cannon, who is recovering from her first case of COVID-19, caught when she was vacationing over the holidays in her native Britain. Anyway, you can read the rest of this in the description box. Having cough all day. Decided to do the news and start coughing. Okay, let's see what we got here. 1945 is from Putin can't deny this. Ukraine is liquidating Russia's military. November was one of the deadliest months of the 10-month war in Ukraine. In 30 days, the Russian military lost around 15,000 troops. That is more dead soldiers than the U.S. military suffered in more than 20 years in Afghanistan and Iraq. It is also more troops killed than the Soviet Union lost in its 10-year adventure in Afghanistan in the 1980s. See what else we got here. This might be a short newscast. Sun was shining through the window. I had to wait before I do it. This is from Fortune. Putin budget faces catastrophe after price cap spells doom for Russian oil exports. The West price cap on Russian crude oil could have a catastrophic effect on Putin's finances and force the Paris state into imposing austerity measures this year, whatever that is. The price of the Urals benchmark grade of crude oil exported from Russia has been falling steadily since the cap went into effect on December 5th. At that level, production can continue. But at a level much closer to extraction costs, thereby greatly diminishing Russian profits. Yeah, try another one. Everything I read will be in my description box if you want to read more about it later. This one here from USA Today. A soldier is suing Virginia police over a violent stop. Here's what to know about the trial. A federal trial began Monday in a civil lawsuit over a 2020 traffic stop in which an Afro-Latino Army lieutenant was pepper sprayed and handcuffed by Virginia police. Body camera video shows Windsor police officer Daniel Crocker and Joe, whatever his name is, who was an officer at the time but has since been fired over the case, pepper sprayed and pointed their weapons at Second Lieutenant Karen Nazaro as he held his hands in the vehicle. The stop sparked nationwide backlash, and Virginia's Attorney General later sued Windsor, a small town about 70 miles southeast of Richmond, alleging the town's police engaged in discriminatory policing against black Africans. In April 2021, Nazaro filed a civil lawsuit against the officers for $1 million in compensatory damages. In August, a special prosecutor called the video of the stop very disturbing and frankly unsettling, but determined this one officer should not be criminally charged. I think they both should be criminally charged. It doesn't matter. One cop should stop the other cop from doing that, you know. It's here's what to know about the case. What happened during the traffic stop? The officer said in a police report that they pulled Nazario over on December 5th, 2020, because his new Chevrolet Tahoe didn't have a rear license plate, although a temporary plate was displayed in the rear window, according to the lawsuit. Nazario slowed down, drove for less than 2 minutes, and eventually pulled over at a gas station because he wanted to find a safe, well-lit location, the suit said. Crocker described this in his radio transmission as eluding the police and labeled it a high-risk traffic stop, according to police records included in the lawsuit. Now, years ago, you know, they was telling people, at least in Missouri, yeah, you know, if police pulls you over, go to a lit place, a safe lit place. There used to be people, you know, just fake it to be cops. They'll put a flashing light on top of their vehicle, you know, and they'll pull you over and they'll rob you, you know. Video shows Crocker and whoever the name is, they took officers, drew their weapons, and approached Nazario, who was in uniform. Sitting in his SUV, Nazaro then held his hands outside the window and repeatedly asking why he was being stopped, while officers told him to get out the Tahoe. Now, look, this guy is in the military uniform. He's second lieutenant. These cops must have something not against just African Americans and Latinos, but the military. The cops must be a communist. That's what I say. I'll tell it to their face. Things like this piss me off. What's going on is you're fixing to ride the lightning, son. This one cop said, a phrase which the suit claims is a reference to execution by the electric chair. I'm honestly afraid to get out, Nazaro said. Yeah, you should be, this one cop said. This cop then pepper sprayed Nazaro through the driver's side window multiple times. After Nazaro got out of the SUV, the officer forced him to the ground, according to the lawsuit. Then this one cop here struck Nazaro with his knee, and the officer handcuffed him. Crocker then searched the SUV, found a handgun, and determined it was legally owned, according to the suit. The officer told Nazaro they wouldn't file criminal charges, which would harm his military career, if he would chill and let this go. So the cops, they know they done wrong. They just don't want to get in trouble. You know, I'll sue their pants off of them. What does this lawsuit say? Nazaro's lawsuit claims he suffered physical injuries from the stop and has since developed anxiety, depression, and PTSD. The officer involved not only assaulted Mr. Nazaro, but pointed their weapons directly at him, and at some point during the encounter threatened to kill him, the suit alleged. Mr. Nazaro recalls that he thought he was going to die that evening. Nazaro's suit initially claimed the officer violated his constitutional rights against excessive force and unreasonable seizures and the right to free speech. U.S. District Judge Roderick C. Young limited the scope of Nazaro's lawsuit. Young ruled Nazaro's can argue he was assaulted, falsely imprisoned, and that his vehicle was illegally searched, but federal immunity laws protect the officer from claims that they violated Nazaro's unconstitutional rights. And say here, what do the police officers say? Both Crocker and this other cop denied the claims in Nazaro's lawsuit and court filings, arguing their interactions with Nazaro were reasonable, and he had repeatedly refused to comply with their commands. Their attorneys did not immediately respond to a request for the comment from USA Today. Now, we weren't there to actually know what went on, but the way things are reading, the cops are at fault. And it says here, the officer also denied threatening to kill Nazaro, saying the phrase "ride the lightning" was a reference to a stun gun. Anyway, you can read the rest of this in my newscast. But those cops should be fried. They should be jailed, sued. Here's something from Business Insider. Lowe's to sell power tools that won't work if they're stolen, as retailers take increasingly desperate measures to prevent theft. Lowe's is combining RFID and blockchain technology to ensure stolen products are rendered inoperable. The move comes as theft has ballooned into a nearly $100 billion problem for the retail industry. Home Depot instituted a similar initiative in 2021 to sell power tools with point-of-sale activation. And I saw stuff about Home Depot. If you push the cart, and you didn't pay for that, if it hasn't been scanned, to be sold, it would stop at the door of the cart would. You couldn't go no further. But there's more to read about it here. You can read about it in my description box. And that's all I got for you today here. Hope you have a nice day. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Come back once in a while. If you don't subscribe, watch. And I'll do it tomorrow. Later.